I really feel fortunate to take the opportunity to introduce you all to our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Dr. Anil D. Sahasrabuddhe, Chairman AICTE. Sir is a professor of mechanical engineering at Indian Institute of Technology, IIT, Guwahati, joined All India Council for Technical Education, AICTE, as chairman on 17 July 2015.
याचना जी वो वहाँ दिखाई दे रहा है तो छोड़ दीजिए ना. Continue.
Sir, I understand, and I understand the time proximity.
Yeah.
I thought because maybe it could be a technical glitch for
No, it's not required. Not.
All right. So with all these words, we once again welcome our honorable chief guest on board with us, and I request him to share his valuable thoughts with all of us. Over to you, Sahasrabuddhe ji.
सबको प्रणाम, नमस्कार, good morning to everyone. Sri Arpit Chadha ji, Dr. Rakesh Mohan Joshi ji, who elaborately explained about the entire situation, right from business to economics to the ancient Indian practices and what are our philosophies and how ancient India was Vishwaguru and how it can again be Vishwaguru, and it is Vishwaguru. You know, I think very elucidated beautifully. Manoj Jha, who had been after me to come onto this platform, Vidya Sekhri ji और यचना जी आप खुद ये प्रोग्राम को चला रही है, तो बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण विषय है. What we are talking about today is about reform, perform and transform. In fact, this very slogan was given by the Honorable Prime Minister a couple of years ago. And that was first time when this was announced, people were taken aback, you know, what is this all about? And when this year, the new national education policy is already rolled out, you know, it came in the last year and now it is being completely implemented. All of that which has come in the new education policy is exactly the same: reform, perform and transform. So I will come back to some of the facets of the new education policy where all of these are indirectly, directly coming into picture. Sabse pratham, if you look at 2 or 3 very important changes that have been made in this new national education policy, which give fillip to reform, perform, transform, is first of all universities, colleges have to be multidisciplinary. So working in silos and only in one particular discipline will take us nowhere. So all disciplines will have to evaluate themselves where they are lacking and also start introducing different multidisciplinary choice of courses first to all the students, and then probably later the programs themselves. So today maybe a college which is a management school may not have all other disciplines, but at least a flavor of some of the courses, maybe of engineering, law, medicine, if they are having an opportunity. Also to learn probably music, dance, drama, painting, they will get invigorated and their personality will start blooming. And this is the first and foremost important thing. Then subsequently may start all these programs leading to graduation as well. So I think this is one of the very important things. The second one, for the very first time, which has been talked about, is multiple exit, multiple entry of students, along with what is known as academic bank of credits. Probably exit and entry exists in some pockets here and there in some of the programs and courses, but as a philosophy, it was not there ever in our policy, nor is it there in many countries of the world in the education. Even talking about academic bank of credits, this is also a first experiment of its kind anywhere in the world. We do have transfer of credits, but it is entirely one full semester. A student goes and spends abroad in some other university or some other college, gets back those credits of that semester. This is happening. It's not that it is absolutely new phenomenon, but something like we opened up 3 years ago, credit transfer through Swayam. You know, Swayam is an indigenous MOOC platform created by India, similar to edX platform of MIT, as well as Coursera platform of Stanford and all. We are almost in competition with them, and we have 3,000 plus courses. More than 10 million students are registered, and there are huge number of students who are taking courses. Not only that, for getting it to the credit and then get them onto the transcript of your respective university. Of course, the quantum which we want is not happening of transfer of credits, because there are a lot of rules, regulations of different universities, equivalences. So all of those things are also going to be a matter of concern, and which is there as part of the new education policy. So when academic bank of credits, the definition of credit itself, then the rating, some institutions have 10-point scale, some have 9-point scale, 8-point scale, 6-point scale, 5-point scale, and 4-point scale. How do you convert a grade received in 4-point scale to a 8-point system or a 9-point system? I think those are issues which are being handled. Once they are there, easy flow of students from one university or one college to the other on one side, and while remaining constantly in one particular college, how one can earn credits from some other institution of his or her choice. I think that is where the collaborative approach of educational institutions will begin to happen. And this is phenomenally different from never ever before whatever was being talked about. And therefore, it is very, very student-centric, empowering. A student in, say, this particular institution itself, ITM, if a student wants to learn something from another management institute, maybe IIM Calcutta or Ahmedabad, they must be in a position to take a course from there through SWAYAM, get it credited to your account and reflected in your grade sheet. I think this is empowering, because in many cases we offer some electives. We say that these are 5 electives available, and under each elective we give 3 or 4 different choices. But when the student asks for some second or third choice, we say ये faculty हमारे college में नहीं है, इसलिए आप ये नहीं ले सकते, आपको यही लेना पड़ेगा. So then where is the question of that being called as an elective? It is then a mandatory course. And so when in the true spirit of providing choice-based elective for students, the opening up of our institutions to other institutions, taking credits from the platform like SWAYAM. Tomorrow we may also allow courses to be taken from other foreign sources as well. But today we are restricting to Indian sources because our system, our universities will be respecting our laws, and that's why they are there in place. But anyway, these are some of the absolutely invigorating changes that have happened in the new policy. On the front of the quality education being imparted, the choice-based education being imparted. This is one reform. Another very important reform is to encourage innovation and research. So please remember that our research funding used to be from few of the government agencies like DST, DBT, or BRNS. Some of these government agencies who support certainly some amount of research, and mostly it was being cornered by science and technology institutions of high order like IITs and maybe some NITs and some central universities. So the policy very clearly says that research is for the quality, and therefore there is nothing like private and government. So both are equally valuable. Any faculty who has outstanding contribution towards research, wants to do further research in a certain domain, whether that person comes from a government institute or private institute, no distinction should be made. I think this is very, very important. We are already giving some kind of proposals received at AICTE under research promotion scheme. We at AICTE do not distinguish between private and government for a long time. But when it comes to many other agencies like DST, DBT, they are also already gradually changing. It is not that it is the first time that is happening, but more liberal attitude is being talked about, and just not in science and technology, but even in humanities, social sciences, we must promote research. And for that, National Research Foundation is being established with 50,000 crore rupees for the next 5 years. Madam Nirmala Sitharaman in the budget speech has already announced 10,000 crore. First statute of funds for this particular year is already announced. So I think these things are happening. The third very important change, which people probably some of them would oppose, some of them will support, is about a single regulatory body, Higher Education Commission of India. There were all type of comments which came, how can so much thing can be done under a single umbrella? There is already UGC, AICTE, we have a Council of Architecture, there is a Council of Pharmacy, and then there are several other councils who all regulate respective education. And this is what was creating problem also. People don't realize deemed to be university running a program of architecture or a pharmacy, we will have a minimum 4 bosses. So they will have to take approval from UGC through MHRD, now Ministry of Education, for continuing to be a deemed university in the first place. Then because you are running a program which is under the AICTE Act, which is architecture or pharmacy, AICTE will also dabble there. And then Council of Architecture and Council of Pharmacy, they will say, without our approval, your graduates we don't recognize and they will not get license to practice. So now, and also the state governments, wherever they are located, they will also infringe. And then there are many other agencies who will come and then keep on inspecting. I think this is going to be given away. And there will be one single body called Higher Education Commission of India, which is a apex body under which 4 verticals are talked about. And all existing systems in some way will get integrated. People have got all kind of doubts. How will it function? I am giving simple example. If UGC is doing the regulation of universities and AICT is doing for technical programs and some Council of Architecture is doing for someone, if there is a single body called National, whatever HECI is there, under that National Higher Education Regulatory Council, this council will take care of all these bodies. In fact, whether it is a program of arts, commerce, science, or engineering, or architecture, or management, it will be done by this body. The second vertical under that is accreditation body, accreditation council called NAC, National Accreditation Council. We already have NAC, we already have National Board of Accreditation. Can they not be together under one umbrella? And you have further 3, 4, 5 other agencies, even private agencies identified, who are going to do quality accreditation. After all, what Rakesh Mohanji told, that most management schools talk about triple approvals or triple accreditation, which is AMBA, AA, CSB, and EQUIS. So many people claim that we have all 3, some claim we have 2, some claim 1. But why don't you also do NBA accreditation? If your quality is so good and you are getting AMBA or AA, CSB, then NBA should be cakewalk. But unfortunately, I will tell you, some of these programs do not get accredited by NBA, although they have got accredited by some foreign agencies. This has been found in the case of engineering programs. ABET is the body which does in US. Some institutions have done here, but they don't pass through a 6-year accreditation through NBA. They get 3-year accreditation, whereas they will get a clean sheet from some other agencies. So that means our accrediting bodies are not poor. They are doing pretty good job. So we need to recognize that, give encouragement. So this NAC will take care of all of these issues. The third is the funding body. Today, AICT also funds some things, UGC funds and NCT funds. Many of these agencies take the money from the government and distribute. So if there is any formality which is to be done in the form of checking the quality checked from the body which actually has given approval first, and then the accreditation. If these two are evaluated, and then based on that and based on the actual project proposal, funding can be given by the third agency, which is National Funding Council. There is a possibility of that third vertical. The fourth vertical is to set standards for each type of education. What are the outcomes desired rather than inputs? What is the size of the classroom? What is the size of the area of the land that is required? How much space should be earmarked for library, computer center, etc., etc. It's all fine. Why should it be dabbled by an accrediting body, or for that matter, approving body? Let it all be set by the standard setting body, which is called General Education Council, who will tell that for having a course in say mechanical engineering, you require say these following 6 laboratories, 3 workshops, you require so many classrooms, you require so many faculty-student ratio, you require faculty with these qualifications. If these standards are given by people who are professionals, who are working in that field, both from industry and academia, and then they are borrowed by the approving authority, which is the single regulatory body which is going to approve, and whether they are satisfied or not need not even be checked. The policy is very clearly saying that the regulation must be light but tight. Light is, let the institution declare that we satisfy all the conditions that are required to be satisfied to start a college, or we are continuing these programs for the last 15 years. We do have everything, and transparently project all of that, what you have according to the standards on your portal. And then the body which is giving approval need not go and check that. We believe the trust is the most important fundamental thing which has to be brought in. But when there is a trust, and if there is a trust, and despite the trust, if there is a possibility that some organization is cheating the system, And when someone observes, whether it is a stakeholder, student, or a faculty, or a staff, or a public, or some NGO, or some RTI activist, that the information given on the portal is fake. They are claiming that they have 120 faculty, whereas they have only 80 faculty. And then the role of the regulatory body comes into the picture. They go and actually verify, and if the complaint is genuine, there may be lethal punishment to the college or university or whatever it is. Or if it is a fake complaint, we should thrash that fellow for giving fake complaint. I think this is what is light but tight. All of these are very interesting reforms which have been talked about in the policy, which will certainly, when started to be performed, the transformation is just a natural corollary of that. We don't have to worry about the real transformation which will happen automatically. So as far as the performance is concerned, the ministry is seized of the matter. Several committees are set up. I don't know how many of you are aware that there are two other things which I would like to mention. One of them is a division of Indian knowledge systems, which is created in the ministry, and it operates from AICTE. And all of that, what Rakesh Mohanji said about different aspects, they are going to be covered, whether it is in terms of science and technology, but more importantly, I'm taking alphabets from English. Jo A hai, to arts hai. There are 64 kalas which are reflected in our ancient Indian system. We say 64 kalaon ke bare mein baat karte, arts. Then we have astronomy. We were the only country in the world who, probably we don't know whether we had telescopes or not, but we had watched the sky and had accurately calculated everything. And that was the mathematical geniuses that were existing in our country in terms of astronomy. The third A is Ayurveda. You know, the COVID times have proved that despite all of that, what is happening in terms of development of vaccines and drugs, people who followed Ayurveda did not get affected. And even if they got infected, they did not go to the hospital to get oxygen. I think these are the next is this Ayurveda. And then we all are aware of the agriculture, which Rakesh Mohanji is proud of, whether it is dairy or the agriculture, was also practiced. In fact, human beings' settlement from the nomadic tribes to the persons who started settling down on the banks of the river was only because agriculture could be supported where there is water. And that is where, whether it is Mohenjo-daro civilization or the Dwarka civilization or the Gangetic Belt civilization, all or in the South Kaveri Belt civilization, all of them were thriving only on agriculture. And therefore, all these 4 A's, that is agriculture, astronomy, Ayurveda, and art, you know, they were part of this, our ancient traditional knowledge systems. Then there is a B, botany. We have all species were recognized and their values in terms of, maybe some of them appear today to be sort of religious symbols. They are not religious. The use of tulsi, haldi, all of that is part of our culture, which is biological things were all understood by us. And even the plants had the life, and that's why we respected the plants. We did puja of plants because they have a life, and which later both proved it scientifically. And now today the world recognizes. And today we talk about environment, nature, all of that is embedded in this B. And I will go back to yoga, which is also very prominent for health side. And the last Z is zoology, all animal worlds. We respect all animals. Our all Vishnu avatars start from Kurma Avatara to Vishnu Avatara. So I think respecting the entire biological species, Homo sapiens being the highest of the lot, and we always being the most intelligent species, we have a great responsibility. And this responsibility is being thrust through this Indian Knowledge Systems Division on AICTE, and in turn, the work that we are carrying out to unearth the wisdom that exists in our Vedas and Puranas, to bring it to the fore, not only for ourselves, but for the whole universe. जैसे राकेश मोहन जी ने बहुत सारे कहा, वैसे हमारी फिलॉसफी है, सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु. We don't ever think about happiness of ourselves, but the entire world, entire universe. And the whole world is one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Today, United Nations talks about sustainability, but we have been sustainable. Our economy has been always sustainable economy. We don't waste anything. We don't throw anything. In many houses, many people, our younger generation keep telling the older generation आपने रूम में क्या क्या रखा है, किसी का काम में नहीं आता है, तो किसी ना किसी दिन काम आएगा, ऐसे रखते रखते जाते हैं हम। कभी कचरे के डिब्बे में कोई फेंकते नहीं है, उसी का इस्तेमाल करते रहते हैं। तो मेरे ख्याल से दिस कल्चर ऑफ सस्टेनेबिलिटी, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट इज इन आवर डीएनए. Nobody need to teach us that this is what you need to do. In fact, they have to learn lessons from us, and that is what is our Vishwaguruship that exists in our country. And that is why there were Nalandas and Takshilas, the first ever universities of the world, were germinated, created, prospered here, and all over the world people came. Today also we are again talking about what Rakesh ji said of Study in India program of the Ministry of both Education, Ministry of External Affairs, Indian Council of Cultural Relations. We're all working on that, and the number of students going out are 10 times the number of students coming in. We want to balance this equation. And unless this chemistry equation is not balanced, we will not go anywhere. So internationalization is important, but it is not one-way street. It has to be two-way street. And that is what the government is already seized of the matter, and we are already doing it. I can go on, and I think time is always the limitation. And I'm very happy that this particular seminar is being organized, 2-day workshop where reform, perform, transform is being discussed in this e-conference. I'm sure a lot of wisdom will come through this, and true transformation will start happening when we start whatever reforms are coming in are put in practice. That means performance. And I will just still mention names. I will not now talk more. About 9 quality initiatives which we started 3 years ago. All of them are part of the education policies, starting with the regular revision of curriculum, to faculty, which is a very core essence of any educational institution, therefore faculty certification program. We have defined 8 modules. There are courses, each one of them 3 credit courses. Unless a faculty does that, he will not become regular. He will remain ad hoc, temporary, contractual. And therefore, the pedagogical aspects, unless a faculty learns and practices for 1 semester after taking internship in industry for 1 month, he will not become a regular faculty. Then our all emerging areas, AI, IoT, machine learning, deep learning, robotics, 3D printing, augmented reality, virtual reality, cloud computing, blockchain, cyber security. These are all part of the curriculum, but we have started training teachers through Atal Academy, AICT's Training and Learning Academy. And today we have trained during pandemic through 1,000 5-day workshops, 1.5 lakh faculty. We have received the world record from London. So I think these are empowering things which have started happening. What we say, the perform is happening. Then we have universal human values student induction program workshops. Some of your faculty must have seen, attended. How we are all human beings. The conscience has to be raised to that same level of consciousness which is there across the globe. And if we are able to do that, we will see other human being as a true human being, and we will respect each other. And that philosophy is being embedded through this universal human values. Our examination reforms, the workshops on examination reforms, moving away from rote learning to what we call understanding, critical thinking, analytical ability, analytics of even data, then what we call as innovation, they are all to be embedded into this. So all of that in the question papers, internship being made mandatory. I think I can go on and on. All these reforms were in place for the last 3 years, and we have seen the benefit. So the transformation is already happening at the ground level, but pace has to be accelerated. In business and in startups, we have what is known as incubator, and then there is an accelerator. So we have already incubated our company. So now accelerator is what is the role that we have to play as a AICT or whatever agency comes up under HECI. And I'm sure we will raise the bar and will become one of the most developed countries, but with a sense of what is known as competition. We all talk about, but I'm coming to competition is fine, but more than competition, cooperation, developing competencies, developing collaborative approach is more important and significant, and respecting each other is important. Thank you very much. I conclude here.